Muchísimas gracias nuevamente a nuestros clientes que...
Thanks very much to our customers who shared some of their experiences. And I'm glad that we were able to cover some of the questions that we had from you today. Thank you. And Ruben, thank you for leading the panel session. That was a good discussion. Let us go on to the last session of the day. This is the time when we like to think about the future, what direction we're going in, many of the technologies, not only the cloud, but how these are beginning to change the way in which we work, have fun, how we do things every day, communication. So for that, we're going to invite our Chief Technology Officer at Rackspace to share that vision of the future with us, especially the cloud technology. So I give the floor to John Engates.
All right, John. Navigate the stairs. All right. Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. We're at the last session of the day, I think, so I have to make it really fun and interesting. I hope I can do that today for you. You know, I speak a lot. I go to a lot of conferences like this. At the Rackspace headquarters, I spend a lot of time with customers. And the number one reason you come to the Rackspace headquarters is to get to know the Rackers, to get to know the people behind Fanatical Support. You want to know what's special about them and what's unique, and they want to get to know you equally. And so I thought I would start my presentation just a little bit about things that I'm excited about, things that I'm interested in, and I think this will lead us into a good discussion around the future of technology in the cloud. So the first thing you should know about me is I'm a gadget guy, a gadget geek, whatever you want to call me. I love new iPhones, new toys, new electronics. One of the projects that I'm working on lately is home automation. How many people in the audience are trying to automate your light switches or your home? Raise your hand. Anybody doing this at home right now? Okay, I see a few. So you guys are early adopters like me. You're on the leading edge and trying to figure out what's next in the Internet of Things. This is a really good starter for this conversation because it represents what's going on in the entire industry. Every company is starting to think about how they can tie their product and their brand to the cloud. They're trying to make the user interface something that you have on your mobile device. You want to be able to turn on the lights from your mobile phone. You want to be able to adjust the temperature of your thermostat. You want to be able to control. You want to have control over things. And to do that, you need a connection. You need an always-on connection to the cloud. And every one of these companies up here, these are the ones that I've been playing with lately, but they're all trying to make the experience around their product more compelling, more interesting by having a connection to the cloud, and hence the Internet of Things. That's what they call this when you're tying all of these devices into the cloud. One of the interesting outcomes of all these devices being connected is they create a lot of data. They're streaming data constantly up to the cloud where it's stored and where it's potentially analyzed. That data is something that makes the product even more valuable over time because the brand starts to understand how you use the product and when you use the product, and it starts to be adaptive and predictive in some ways to your use case. Another technology that I'm excited about are drones. Drones are everywhere. I see them when I travel. I see them, at sporting events, and people are, this is a big hobby. But again, it's also another example of the Internet of Things. This is full of sensors. Every drone that I've seen is basically a little flying computer with a camera on the front, but lots of sensors to make it work. You have to know where it is in the world using GPS. You have to know the temperature, the altitude, the speed. Has radar sensors. It has a receiver and a transmitter so it can talk to the iPad on the ground, and that iPad is talking to the cloud. So another great example really everything all in one. A drone is really a good example of this Internet of Things trend and the data and sensors that are coming out of a lot of the products that we're consuming. This may be the future if the drones go crazy and get really smart and start to attack their human owners. I hope this doesn't happen, but it is certainly, with the advent of artificial intelligence, something we have to look out for. Okay, so another technology that I'm really passionate about is self-driving cars. So this is the brand new Tesla Model 3. Did everybody watch the unveiling of the new Tesla? How many people put a deposit down on a Tesla last week to buy one? I did. It is an astounding piece of engineering. It's going to change the way we think about cars. This is a computer wrapped with a car. If you think about this, more of the innovation in this car is software than it is hardware. It's sensors, it's radar, it's imaging technology to understand where the other cars are on the road. Again, it's a great example of what's going on across the industry. Every company I can think of is starting to think about how they integrate their product and connect it to the cloud and make it more valuable to the consumer by way of data and making the user experience that much more compelling. This is happening even in places that are not quite so leading edge as self-driving cars. In your living room, you're starting to see these technologies. For example, the Xbox that sits in front of your TV, potentially, you may have an Xbox One. My daughter has an Xbox One, and whenever I walk into the room, the Xbox pops up a little message that says, "Hello, John," and it's recognizing my face. It's recognizing who is in the room. I envision a day when the Xbox is able to make a suggestion, maybe to watch a Netflix program, maybe order a pizza, maybe make a suggestion because it sees the whole family in the room. I think that is not very far away in terms of intelligence in the devices in our homes. You're also starting to see devices talking to one another in the home. So example from my earlier use case of the thermostat. The thermostat on the wall has a sensor. It knows what temperature the room is. It knows who's in the room based on heat and sensors. And it also has the ability now to communicate with other devices. So Amazon Echo or Amazon Echo Dot, you might have seen these products. You can talk to them, and potentially now the devices will start to talk to you and make suggestions about what you might find comfortable in terms of the temperature. Should I raise the temperature? Should I lower the temperature? The devices in our homes are going to start to talk to one another, and the intelligence is going to be there to make your life that much more simple, all based on cloud. So when I think about all of this computing technology embedded into our lives, I call it ubiquitous computing, or a ubiquitous world, because computing is everywhere. It used to be the computer was on a desk in our office or on a desk in the home, in a special room in the home, right? You used to have a computer room. Not anymore. It's everywhere. It's in your home, your business, your car, your television, sensors in this room all over the place, computers driving the cameras that are recording me right now. And what's driven this is really based on a few key trends and things that have gone on that enabled it. Mobile was the first. Mobile, when the iPhone came out, the iPhone, for me, was the first time we really had a very powerful computer that went with us everywhere. Before the iPhone, if you all remember back just a few years, this was the state of the art in terms of mobile computing when I started at Rackspace. When I started at Rackspace in the year 2000, and this was as good as it got in terms of mobile, online connection, always on, real time. It was just little emails, little texts. But in just a few years, really maybe a decade and a half, we have these devices coming from multiple companies all over the world. Everyone in every country around the world pretty much lives on these devices. I mean, we don't walk out of the house without our phone. I mean, it's the number one thing that you feel like you're missing if you leave the house. And so this is now, really a part of our world, and that has that process of a massive scale adoption has really allowed the price to come down. The price of computing has come down. And so that's what I would say is the next trend is the low-cost processor. The ability to embed a low-cost computer into any device is really because mobile made it possible. Today, you can buy a device like this. This is a Raspberry Pi Zero. They call it a Raspberry Pi Zero. It's a $5 computer that's probably more powerful than what we had on our desktop just a few years ago. It's a very powerful, very capable computer, and it costs $5. Imagine what a smart engineer or a developer could do with a $5 computer in a device that they're building or designing. It's going to enable robotics. It's going to enable flying drones. It's going to enable all kinds of innovations. As these devices get smaller because of mobile, and as they become cheaper because of the ubiquitous nature, they will be in more and more devices. Sensors are another aspect of this. These computers need to interact with their world. They need to be able to see into the world. They need to be able to tell what's going on, to make decisions. They need to have some sort of input, and sensors have become the way that that's happening. I mentioned earlier the Xbox being able to recognize my face. I don't think it's as accurate as what Facebook is doing. Facebook is doing some very, very accurate face recognition. Because think about what Facebook has to solve for. Every human on the earth basically is on Facebook nowadays, it feels like. And they need to be able to tell one person from another. They need to tell you from your cousin, from your uncle, and be able to make sure that we know who people are to make the experience that much better. And so they're working on this deep face, they call it. And it's essentially artificial intelligence, deep learning, trying to make sure that the sensors are as accurate as possible. There's a prediction that those sensors will drive the majority of data that's being produced in the world. By 2020, the prediction is that 40% of all data generated, all data, not just sensor data, all data will come from these sensors. And that's because they're always on. They're always creating data. They're always producing a stream of data going and really going to the cloud. The next I would say the next enabler of this ubiquitous world, not only the sensors collecting data, but the interfaces of how we interact with these devices. You've already seen a couple of them, but I'll revisit one of them here. This is the touch interface. This is a baby that is at maybe age 1 or age 6 months already able to interact with an iPad and already expecting the world around her to interact just like the iPad. She's trying to make that magazine do what the iPad does, and she's trying to, touch. And I think that is a really telling, it really hits at the heart of what we as humans are. We want to interact with things in a very normal, natural way. So the magazine is useless. The touch interface is the thing that she wants. And that will go further. That will go into more and more devices. This is a futuristic look at what clothing may look like in just a few years. Being able to embed what is usually on your watch or on a wearable device right into the clothing and potentially even interact with the clothing in a way like a color-changing outfit for running and jogging. That's exciting stuff. So you've seen two interfaces here. Look at this one. This is another interface that's coming on strong. All of you are probably paying attention to virtual reality or augmented reality. These are terms that are used commonly in gaming and in the media consumption. People want 3D experiences. They want real-time sort of 360. They want something that feels more realistic than just a flat television screen. And they want something that immerses them in the game or in the experience. And this is happening very rapidly. It's there's a number of devices that I imagine will be ready for you to buy at Christmas this year. First generation certainly, but the development is going so fast. You can look forward maybe to a futuristic experience. Today you use FaceTime or you use Skype or you use some other real-time chat or video chat. But imagine the flexibility and the power of being able to put those goggles on and interact with the real world in that chat. You'd be able to show somebody around the house, maybe fix a plumbing problem, maybe a mechanic working on a car, sharing a problem, or a surgeon. All of those experiences will be enabled by virtual reality and augmented reality. It really brings you in to the environment. It helps you really see something that is historically not been able to be seen. That's something that we want to enable here at Rackspace for you. So what we've done at Rackspace, I'm going to show you a little video. We've taken a 360-degree view of the Rackspace data center. We've put it into an app. We've put the app onto the phone. The phone goes into a pair of goggles. This is something that they call Google Cardboard. And you can now see what Rackspace's data center looks like. We wanted to give you a 360-degree tour of the data center. We want to make it immersive where you can sort of experience this idea of virtual reality. So everybody in the room, if you fill out later the survey, you will get a pair of goggles so you can experience this. This is what the goggles will look like. They are literally made out of cardboard, so they're inexpensive. There are more expensive ones, but these do the job. They do a really good job, in fact. And they will allow you to not only use our app, but really a lot of other content that's online on YouTube and other sources. So look for the Rackspace Data Center Virtual Reality Experience. You'll all be able to experience it very soon, and you'll get a little taste of what this new world of virtual reality is going to look like. I'm very excited about this. I've already started to play with this stuff, and I know that this is going to change our world in a big way. All of these things that I've talked about, every single thing that I've listed, all of the companies that I've talked about, all the experiences are enabled by the cloud. The cloud is the foundation for all of this. The cloud makes it possible for us to store the data, interact with the data, analyze the data, consume these powerful experiences. And I think that is a huge game changer for how companies are going to consume and build and adopt IT in the future. The implications, I think, of all of these are really, really big. I think there are implications in terms of the data that we've talked about. The security is a big concern and a big responsibility that we all have. Society itself may change because of some of these things. Privacy is going to be a big concern. Think about the analytics and the data. A company like Netflix uses that data to make their experience better. They hosted a contest to see who could make the best algorithm for predicting which movie you want to watch, which movie tonight that is best for you and your family. That's only going to get better. It's only going to get more powerful in the hands of companies that want to build these great experiences. It also has the potential to help companies that are not, in your living room, but really out in the real world. UPS, the delivery service, is using big data and analytics to optimize the way they route their vehicles. The trucks that deliver the packages, they want to optimize for traffic and for making left turns so that you don't have to, or right turns, I should say, in this case. Right turns, I'm looking at the screen the wrong way. But they want to optimize so that the driver doesn't have to take a very long path to get to the destination and that they can save money. Just in the last 10 years, they've saved 10 million gallons of gas. They've taken the equivalent of 5,000 cars off the road, and they're making a huge impact on their business because of big data and analytics. Another company, back to the Tesla example, Tesla is working hard on self-driving cars. They want to collect data to power the intelligence of the self-driving car. Now imagine what a self-driving car means to our world. It takes potentially a lot of cars off the road. If you can have a car that just shows up every morning to pick you up, takes you to work and drops you off, and then goes on its way, you don't have to own the car, you don't have to maintain the car, you don't have to park the car. It takes potentially a lot of cars off the road. It also saves lives. If we get to a point where 90% of the cars are self-driving, they don't make the same mistakes that we do as we drive. We run red lights. We don't stop at stop signs. We get tired. We fall asleep. All of those things go away when you have most of the cars on the road self-driving, driving themselves around. And it saves a lot of money as well. The lives, the health care, the costs of recovering those cars that were crashed, all of that costs a lot of money. The founder, the CEO of Tesla, actually predicted that someday we won't be able to drive our own cars because we will be too unsafe to be out there on the road driving our own cars. He predicts that when you get to a certain stage of self-driving and automation, we won't be allowed to drive our own cars because the government will say, you're not safe enough, we need to get you off the road. I don't know if that's real or not. I don't know if that's a real thing, but it might happen. You know, I can see that if the car drives better than we do, why wouldn't we allow the car to do it? So I also think that more of the experience that we have today of Uber will be the norm. It will be the reality. I don't necessarily need to own a car. If the car is available, just pick me up. Why do I want to own the car? But to see that world come to be real, we have to have high security. If everybody drives a car that's connected all the time, first you want to make sure that the connection is very reliable. The connection to the cloud has to be perfect. It has to be secure. It has to make sure that the data isn't leaking out and isn't being stolen by somebody else. I don't want the whole world to know where my travels are because I don't want them to go home and rob my house when I'm away from the house. I don't want them to know my habits and my trends. So ultimately, security becomes even more important as technology gets embedded into our lives at this level. This is another problem. If those self-driving cars and the cars that have the connection to the cloud get hacked, the bad guys could potentially cause real damage. These are lives at stake, right? So this was an example of a journalist that sort of put a challenge to some hackers to try to hack his car. He said, here, I'm going to do a story about this. What can you do to my car remotely? And they literally shut down systems in his car while he was driving down the road. And this was an after shot of the car where it went into the ditch. But, that's a real concern. So security really, really matters in this case. In society, in our daily lives, think about when we take cars off the road by making them self-driving cars. Do we need as much insurance? If the cars are not having wrecks, maybe we don't need insurance. Maybe we don't need as many auto finance companies because we don't own the car. We certainly don't have to park the car because it's always going to be driving around, picking up and dropping off. We may need a whole lot less maintenance on the car if they're super reliable electric cars that can automatically go and get proactive service before they fail. We don't need the tow truck. We don't need the maintenance as much, right? The rental car companies, that industry may fundamentally change. If every car is a self-driving car, I don't need to rent one. I'll just borrow one. Public transportation, chauffeurs, manufacturing, all of these things are going to have societal impacts based on the things the trends that we're talking about here today. Privacy is another big one. You've already seen a lot about this debate going on. I think it's sort of come to a temporary conclusion between Apple and the FBI and breaking into the iPhone. But, for me, when most of your life is in your phone, your payments, your personal emails, your notes, all your habits, they're all in that device. Privacy becomes a big deal, right? And I think we've got a long way to go to sort out what that means to all of us, but that is definitely a societal trend. Again, I mentioned all of this has the cloud at the foundation. Every company I talk to, every conversation I have, there are companies trying to make sure that they are leading the way. They are trying to make sure that their customers are experiencing the Internet of Things or the better experience with their product based on cloud. But the challenge is that cloud is hard. Cloud has challenges in terms of adopting it because it's not the same as where we came from. We came from 20 or 30 years of on-premises IT, and now we're racing to get to the cloud. The challenges that companies are facing are numerous. The number one challenge is the lack of the resources and the lack of expertise to do it right. Most companies don't have these people. They're trying to build these new experiences, but they don't have the track record or the experience to do it. Security used to be number one. It's now moved to number two. There are a lot of other challenges. Managing multiple clouds. Many companies are using more than one cloud, and the challenge of managing multiple clouds and multiple services. Control, governance, making sure that we're spending the right amount of money and not spending too much. That's another one. Just managing all the complexities. My suggestions, when I talk to the CIOs that I have conversations with, I say start now. Start moving to the cloud now. Don't wait. Don't expect that some future date it's just going to become magically easier to get there. You've got to start now. You've got to start learning about it. I would also say to a CIO, build something. Don't wait for a software company to deliver software like we have in the past. Packaged software is not as relevant in this new world as it once was in IT. The experiences that we've talked about today are all being built by software companies or companies that have converted themselves into being software companies. And many, many companies I talk to are trying to do that themselves. They're trying to make this transition to creating, really remaking themselves in the form of a software company. I would say if you've tried cloud and you've failed or you've stumbled, try again. Keep going. Keep trying. Get back on the horse and go. What I would also say is make sure that your IT technical folks are focused on something where they're able to stay current with technology, they're able to experiment with new technologies. Don't force them to maintain the old stuff and to stay, in the data center or with their heads down working on some old system, legacy system. Let them go work on new, interesting things, especially the ones that are innovative and leading the way. And last but not least, get the help that a company like Rackspace can provide. We can help you short circuit the time to get to the cloud. We can make it safer. We can make it a lot less risky. We can help you with the security. We can help you with the patterns for success, the blueprints that we've seen other companies come before you and use to make their journey to the cloud successful. So these are the things that I'm talking to CIOs about, CTOs as well, IT leaders. As you know, we've probably told you this. I'll close on this slide though. We are helping companies get to the cloud on the leading platforms. Rackspace created OpenStack 6 or 7 years ago. We are now one of the leaders in OpenStack and continue to innovate there. We are helping customers get to the public cloud on Amazon, on Microsoft Azure. We continue to serve customers on the VMware platform and customers building private clouds there as well. Public, private, hybrid, multi-cloud, all of those are part of what Rackspace is helping customers succeed with. And I hope that today we've shown you some of the things that we're helping other customers do that you can hopefully follow in their footsteps. So with that, I'll close and maybe let my MC bring us home here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
John. Thank you. Thanks a lot.